Let's talk about target market, because that's another area where people really get tripped up, understanding who their target market is. And how many of you have been at a cocktail party or some event and somebody said, you know what, I got this great product idea. And you know what, I think everybody will buy this thing. Everybody's gonna buy it. Have you heard that? I mean, everybody's gonna buy it. And you're like, oh wow, everybody? Everybody. Everybody's gonna buy it. This is, I mean, it's just the greatest thing since sliced bread. Okay, well, I'm here to tell you, first off, if some of you think, and I'm not saying that you do, do any of you here have a business that you think your product, you can sell it to anybody and everybody? You have to understand your target market and who it is, who they are, and if you say that you sell to everybody, you are selling to nobody. And especially, I will say, in this digital age, when we're bombarded with information and we get, what we call internet fatigue, where, we skim things now, and we don't read everything, and we only go after things that catch our eye or catch our interest. You have to have a message that's on point and directed at your target market in order for them to notice. Because if you don't, they're going to move on. Okay? So it's important to understand, as you're formulating your business, who your target market is, but also how big it is in terms of total revenue and probably number of customers. Because if we don't have an idea of how many customers we need to reach, I mean, that's going to dictate some of our marketing strategy, knowing the size of the customer prospect base. So the question is, how do we answer these questions? You all may have seen this. You may have heard the word TAM, SAM, and SOM. We talk about TAM. It's called the total addressable market, which is, say, I'll give you an example. I mean, if we take your gutter cleaning thing, is that it would be maybe all the people in a certain demographic area that need to have their gutters cleaned. Okay. They all have the same need, and this is a potential market that you could go after. Then we talk about what we call a SAM, which is a serviceable addressable market. Well, that's a subset, and that's of the total market. This is the amount of the market that I am going to focus my marketing activities on to try to reach these people so that they hopefully will become customers. Okay? So you'll hear that called SAM. And then SOM, share of the market. That is your share of the market. So if you're in a serviceable addressable market here in a certain thing, your share of the market and your competitors have the rest. Okay? So the share of the market, these are your customers. All right? Let's do an example. I think sometimes doing a target marketing sizing example might help cement this, because it's tough to get your arms around this. I was going to do an example from my company, Roar, and you say, well, what's my value proposition? Well, I help small, mid-sized technology companies grow their revenue through comprehensive marketing strategies. We start out with this. I said technology companies, right? Technology companies in the USA. You think that's my target market? No, I'm seeing a shaking head. No, I will tell you. I'm going to give you a hint. That is not my target market.
That's way too big.
Way too big. Way too big. I mean, there's a lot of technology companies in the United States, right? No way I can reach them all. Okay. Well then, I need to scale it down a little bit. Tech companies in North Carolina. You think that's my target market? I'm kind of shaking his head no here. You know, North Carolina, we got a lot of tech companies here in North Carolina. Okay, Carolina's still too big, right? It's still too big. All right, one of the things that I do, you may have seen it before, is part of the tech thing I go after is energy, electric power, renewable solar, wind. That's one of the areas that's, I know a little bit about it and I understand their needs, so I'm gonna go after them. So what do you think about renewable or energy efficiency companies in North Carolina? Like that?
Possibly, but that's
Better.
narrowed down to one specific field.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's way less broad, pretty narrow. Why don't we stick with this, okay? So I'm gonna say my target market is renewable energy and energy efficiency companies in North Carolina. Well, okay, I gotta figure out a little bit about them. I mean, I don't know, how big's that market? And you just show here is that these are some of the companies that you could see for energy efficiency companies. I mean, there's a lot here in Raleigh, you got Charlotte, all the major metropolitan areas. So we've got quite a few in North Carolina. Okay? All right. All right, well, I need to figure out, how big is this market? All right, I need to do a little research, and here's a little plug for some of the databases and some of the information that's available at the library. And it's available online, because the information that I got here, I got searching online, okay? And that's gonna make you different when you spend the time to do your homework, okay? All right, well, I do some secondary research, and this is both for competitors and do it for your target market. Realize that the information that you're looking at, probably the person that put it together had a different purpose than you do in mind when they put it together. So it's important as you're reading through that to take that into account. That, you know, that whoever it is they weren't looking for the same information you are, and that's why you've got to be a little savvy and careful as you're doing your research. All right. I go to the North Carolina. I found this, the North Carolina Sustainable Energy Association. They're an organization in Durham, and they say that that energy efficiency and renewable energy companies in North Carolina did $6.4 billion in 2016. That's a lot of money. So is that the size of my market that I can go after? I had $6.4 billion in revenue, but they didn't spend all of that on marketing. Okay? Some of it went to employee salaries, some of it went to building products, some of it went to other things besides marketing. Well, I'm a marketing guy and I want to get a marketing spend, so I got to figure out what the marketing spend is, right? So I do some more research and I find out for tech companies in general, their marketing spends about 10% of revenues. Some are 15, some are less, but in general, it's about the marketing spends about $640 million. So 10% of that, so that brings us down to $640 million. You think that's my target? Is that the size of my market? The answer is no, because okay, if a company is spending money on marketing, there's a lot of companies that have their own internal marketing organizations, right? And they're paying salaries and they're doing that. And so what I need to find out, because I'm a third party, I got to figure out of the total marketing spend, how much do they spend on outside guys like me, right? Is everybody following? So I do a little research, a little more research, and I assume of the total marketing spend that these companies do, they spend 5% on outsourced projects for guys like me, which makes it $32 million. Do you think that's my market?
Could be.
Seems, it's not a bad number. Okay. All right. I do a little more research. Okay, so I've got this $32 million number. I want to kind of figure out, all right, how many customers are there that I might have to go under? All right, and one of the ways you do that, you've got to know a little bit about how much a typical customer is going to spend with you in a year, an average customer. And I'm assuming right now, for mine, customers spend $750 a month or $9,000 a year. Could be more, could be less, around $9,000, okay? I could get some bigger projects that are gonna be a lot more money, and I'll get some smaller projects that are gonna be a lot less. So I'm taking an average here. And if I do that, then the size of my market is 32 million divided by 9,000, about 3,500 customers. That's a little high. This could be, these numbers could be adjusted a little bit, but at least it gives you an idea, an order of magnitude of how many customers you might have. I would encourage you, if you can, to go through this analysis for your business. Try to determine what your total market is and how many customers you would need that you could theoretically reach, okay? Because that's really important information you need as you're building your marketing strategy. Because this is going to determine a lot of things. Number one, how much money you're going to need to do your marketing and how you're going to reach these people. You need to know that, okay? So that's what I'm saying, 32 million, 3,500 customers. So I think that's probably a little high, but we'll go with it for now. Okay, what do they care about? Here's one of the things that a lot of salespeople, I did a lot of sales, strategic account sales, power semiconductor for. We used to laugh about some of the sales guys that would go into a customer, and we call it show up and throw up. And what they did is they would come in to a customer and they'd immediately start talking about their product and what it did. Okay? And they bombed the sales call because they didn't take the time to understand what the customer cared about, what problems they were facing, and what was keeping them up at night. They didn't take the time to figure that out. They just came in and started talking about, here's what I'm selling. Don't do that, okay? Take time to do your homework and understand, what does your customer care about? What are their pains? What do they care about? And I'll just take your example. You're meeting with a prospective customer that wants to have their furniture moved. Do you ever sit down with them and say, okay, I know we're gonna go through this move. Moving is probably one of the most stressful things that people go through, because all your stuff, your worldly possessions are in a truck. You ever sit down with them and ask them, okay, Mr. Customer, what are your concerns? Okay, another thing about target market is where are they located, both online and offline. I put this now that I think it goes without saying that all of us need to have some element of digital marketing as part of our strategy, because we are in a digital world. It's not going away. It's going to get bigger, better. So we need to also know where our customers are, both online and offline. Okay? And then one of the most important things, how do customers get their information? How would they get information about a product or service of yours? Because you want to make sure that you understand how they get their information, because that's where you want to be. So, for example, in a business I was in for a while, the only way that you could really get any meaningful traction with customer prospects was at a trade show. Because the people that were coming to the trade shows typically were out of the office. They didn't have to deal with phone calls, they didn't have to deal with emails, and they were in a frame of mind where they could focus and we're in a mood to learn about new technology, new things out there. And so we wanted, so having that in mind, the trade show for our company was a huge marketing event to ensure we had our ducks in a row so that when we met with these customer prospects, we knew what they needed and we were having these meaningful conversations. So there's one of the things. So that's where they got their information. Now, other places, people are reading stuff online, or they're hearing about it, like you say, through their friends. The whole thing is that it depends on your business how they're getting it, but the point is that you need to do the research to understand how they get their information. Okay? Okay, this is probably one of my favorite slides in the in the deck, and it's called the marketing funnel. I don't know how many of you have seen this before, but we start with, of course, we start out wide at the top, and what it is that customer prospects, as we're talking customer prospects, they go into our funnel here. All right, and the first thing that we need to do is, if we're building this, we have to develop awareness. People have to know that we're in business and that we have a value proposition and we are here to serve a certain target market and that we're going to deliver value to them. And so one of the things, especially if you're trying to reach a new market or you're trying to meet people at the beginning, you have to make them aware. And all of these, I will say, all of these stages in the marketing funnel, there are different activities that you would do in order to move them from the beginning to the end. Okay, and we're not going to get into all of that tonight, but your marketing activities and your initiatives will determine, are determined by where you are in this funnel for certain customer prospects. Now, you may have certain marketing activities where certain people, you're trying to build an awareness with them. Okay, we're not selling to them yet. We're just trying to let them know that we're out there. Then what we do is then we move to the engagement phase. And that's where maybe, for example, you have a conversation online, somebody's coming to your website, okay, and interacting with your website. And they're looking at the content. Maybe they're watching a video on the website. Maybe they download a brochure or a white paper or hey, the gold thing, they leave their name and email address, okay? But what the point is that we're engaging with them, and they're learning, and what's happening is we're communicating with them, and they get back their needs and their wants, and they're trying to and we communicate what our value is to them. There's a two-way conversation going on, and it could be face-to-face, in person, or it could be online. A lot of different ways that can happen. Then from engagement, we move to what we call the discovery phase. And the discovery phase is the point at which a customer prospect discovers that you might have a solution to their problem, or that your product or service is going to help them achieve their goal. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean, but they're also your competitors. There may be other companies that they're considering as well. But the whole point is that when we get to the discovery phase, our marketing takes on a different form, because now the customer, chances are, they want to find out more in more detailed information about how you are going to solve their problem for them. Okay? Then, if we're a little bit lucky and we work hard, they become customers and they purchase from us. Okay? How many people think that once you got a customer, once you have a customer and they start buying from you, how many of you think that the marketing stops? The answer is no, the marketing does not stop when a customer prospect becomes a customer. We have this thing, it's called retention. And I will tell you this, and you will know this, is that by and large, it costs much less to retain a customer than to get a new customer. So there are certain activities that we need to do to make sure our customers stay customers. Because let's assume this, if we don't, there's a thing called competition out there. And you hear all that, if you don't take care of your customers, your competition will. There's a lot of truth to that. And one of the things that you'll need to understand in light of this funnel here is you're going to need to understand what is the buying process that your customer goes through for a product or service like yours. And that doesn't mean, I'm not talking about are they going to issue a PO or a credit card or send you a check. That's not what I mean. But what you need to understand is what are the different decision points and the different things, different types of information that they're going to need along the way to make a decision on whether to buy your product or service or not. And here's one of the things that's important. What is the value that you're going to provide to them as they move through the funnel? So we've got customer prospects here that are aware of us, okay? We're going to provide them with some value in order to get them to engage with us. And then we need to provide them some value in order for them to discover that we might have a solution to their problem. We have to provide some additional value here in order to see that they become customers. And then, we have to continue, even after they're customers, we have to continue to provide value to them so that they remain customers. This is a key, I can't emphasize the importance of this in a marketing strategy, okay?